everything is going online. It could also involve offline education, education to the places where there is no internet. It's not about 2G or 3G availability. While we are talking about 5G, there are 70% of areas in India which does not have proper connectivities today. And there we have to create aspects where we could have technologies for education even if there is no internet. And we are working with government in India and with few panchayats or village administration to set up these small centers on that. The fourth digital skill is all about artificial intelligence, machine learning, which most of you have been talking about it. I think artificial intelligence and machine learning has been there for more than a decade now with us. And robotics. Robotics is getting added over. It could be a soft robots, which is inside the software, inside a computer, or it could be a physical robot. Basically having a software within a physical body or a metal body. The fifth aspect, once you have this, you need to have a UI UX, a great UI UX or a virtual reality platforms or augmented reality, extreme reality, even to the level of Metaverse. Nobody was knowing Metaverse till the time Mark Zuckerberg started promoting about it. But now everybody is into it. Organizations like NVIDIA, your BMWs, Microsoft, so many companies are there who are developing their own metaverses or virtual reality platforms. There are virtual lands being sold much costlier than the physical land which is available today. And everything will be in the virtual world. The fifth skill set would be, the sixth one would be, you have the systems ready, you have everything available, but you need somebody to market it, somebody to grow it. So anybody who is from a sales, marketing field, the digital marketing and a growth hacking is going to be the next major skill, which is still not explored. It is not there with many people. Most of these skills are there with the youngsters today. But what about those people who have already reached to a level of 40, 50, 60, 70 years old and they want to add value to the ecosystem? Their knowledge has to be accumulated into the ecosystem, into a platform which can be dissipated to everybody all across the globe without any problems of language or location or any other aspect of it. So that is why it has to be accessible and inclusive component. The last but not the least, as of now, data analytics. With all this, you will create so much data. Who is going to analyze that data? So there are data scientists who are coming in. So you need to have those skill sets with you. Somebody has to do that job and understand that there is a lot of data aspect of it coming in. So if you have to have a well-defined, profitable business ecosystem, these all skill sets are required within a business. And as a CEO or an owner of an organization, one has to know all of this, even as an employee for that matter. Thank you.
So, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to add, because I think it's really interesting what you're telling, 7 technical skill sets. And we even are going to open on the Metaverse with Schoolmakers also a virtual company, so it's happening. But what I think is really important, and you didn't mention it, it's also about empathic skill. So the skill to relate and to make relation, it's really, really important. And in Belgium, I recently launched also a new idea on, you have I-shaped profiles, you have T-shaped profiles we need to make connections, but you also we need C-shaped profiles. People that are instead are capable to communicate, but also to cooperate, to be in a community with others. And the C is standing for making relation and being open to other ideas, other people coming from other communities, and to build new communities of knowledge and to innovate. So I think this is really important maybe to add as an 8th set of skills. Yeah.
That's good that you highlight that, Mr. Bert. Can you also elaborate about, how lifelong learning requires a learning ecosystem from the case of Belgium, for example?
Yes. So in Belgium, we are engaging in building and experimenting with learning ecosystems. So we have 2 regions, more at the, it's a very small country, but more at the side, so in Limburg and in the West Coast, where we try to experiment with collaboration between labor market training organizations, schools, but also organizations assisting in, building on talents, organizations on welfare and building communities in neighborhoods, and let them all collaborate in what we call learning ecosystems that are, on the first hand, physically based. So what we do is really build new spaces in cities, small or bigger places. For instance, in Genk, it's a city, an old mine region where lots of people live there, coming from different countries. And what we see is lots of the kids don't have a degree when leaving school. So we see this, and we see this is a pattern that is repeating. So what we try to do is build up a learning ecosystem from the 0 age. So when young mothers and fathers go with the child, because in Belgium we do that, we go to, it's an institution to get the vaccines for the kids and stuff like that, go to the doctor. So we build this as well in the ecosystem. So these young people come to this learning ecosystem. And there they see all the different fields of society, like building on cultural, language, technical skills, nature, and so on. And what you see is that when the people walk into this learning ecosystem, they get inspired because they see people acting upon their talents. So they can see it, they can do it together with these people, and they can try to learn themselves. And what you see is that we do generational learning. So young parents and kids, but also people from 70, 80, and so on. Everyone is learning in this learning ecosystem and giving it a good example on how learning is about. And it's not that the learning is closed into the schools, because today what we see is when you're a kid, you go to this type of school. When you're a bit older, you go to the other type of school. When you want to do art, there's a different type of school. When you're an adult, there's different type of school. When you have to go on the labor market, there's different types of schools, and so on and so on. So it's lots of systems in place, but they're not collaborating together. So it's really difficult on the financial level, on an organizational level, to make these things collaborate. So in this learning ecosystem experiment, we built not only a physical place of places, but we also built on a new governance model that is cross-bounding all these different, different systems, you could say, to make one learning journey where people can learn from 0 until 100 years, you could say, lifelong learning. And also on a digital level, it's not only physically on the governance level, but also on a digital level, we have platforms where you can follow your learning journey and see how your talents are built up during this path. And I think we really need these kinds of learning ecosystems where we see that learning is also part of life and vice versa, and it's not something we close into only the classrooms, and that's really important. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is very impressive information that you're sharing with us. Just to follow up also back again on the gap skills, and the comments has been made, by Mr. Anshaf. I would like to ask Ms. Monisha, what do you think, about the curiosity as an important component for lifelong learning and self-learning, and can we teach teenagers, to be, a lifelong learners?
Yeah. I think that's a great question, and I think the fundamental fabric of learning is when you're curious. That means you want to probe, you want to ask, you want to learn, right? So the intent to learn has to be there, and sometimes what happens is some traditional education systems actually kill curiosity in some cultures, particularly because there's this, the social acceptance where you sort of accept authority and you don't question. A lot of the learning systems, particularly in South Asian countries, I believe in India for sure, a lot of students go through the education system equating learning with rote learning, right? So there's a lot of memorization of textbook knowledge, and so that's what it is. When these kids really come into the mainstream world, they find that their ability to adapt, their ability to pick up knowledge is therefore hindered. So I think one of the things that we are trying to do, especially with the kind of groups that we work with who really go through, they aren't exposed to the best of educators, teachers, tools, etc., is to help them bring the onus of learning on themselves. You cannot be a lifelong learner if you don't know how to learn, if you don't know how to question, if you're not interested in learning, right? Because learning sort of happens under different situations, and Bert was giving a wonderful example. Learning is not always classroom-based. Learning can happen in informal settings. It can happen through observation. It can happen through interaction. It can happen through, what you've read, what you've heard, and not necessarily in a classroom setting or through a digital platform. So the interest is important, and one of the things, the experiments that we're doing with a platform that we've built is to help youngsters who are, say, just pre-employment or wanting to get into the employment space, build those skills. What we're hearing our employers tell us more and more is that I can train for technical skills, but can you give me trainable material? Can you give me students who can actually be trained, who are agile as far as learning is concerned? Because, it's a VUCA world and everything's changing. And with AI, robotics, the nature of jobs is changing completely. And we want thinkers, we want people to be able to apply. The challenge that, like I've articulated, is that learning is unknown to them. So the platform that we have actually throws content which is relevant to the 21st century, but more importantly, is supported through facilitation and helps the student build some of these skills, right? So it helps build curiosity. And it's a difficult one, but the platform actually measures engagement, exploration, and retention. And retention in terms of cross-referencing retention. So not, here's a module and here's, a list of questions and were you able to sort of answer. But if you read something, say, 3 weeks back, and you're exposed now to another module which sort of cross-references that, were you able to connect the dots? Were you able to ask questions if you don't understand? And that's how we're sort of trying to build curiosity. So the answer to, can adolescents, teenagers, young adults be taught to be curious? Yes, I believe it's a habit that needs to be formed, and practice allows and enables that to happen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Monisha. Yes, I agree with you. But also this is will require from the educator to be able to drive, the students also curiosity and grab a hand of this coming digital world, and which will put a pressure on upskillings, the educators, because they're going to be driving, they're going to be the mentors. So my question now to Dr. Dina. So what are the challenges that you think, the education sectors will face, particularly maybe from the educator perspectives, in order to upskills and catch up this agile digital world?
Okay, thank you, Carla. That's the question that I have been asking myself. The challenges, what are my challenges and how do I meet them? So I'm going to answer that question from my own personal experience as an educator. First of all, as I told you, I've been teaching for a long time. All these years I've seen that the model of education was the 3 steps. For example, we have a certain time in our life which is for education. Then comes the workplace, the job that we do, and then retirement. This three-tiered model is what I have been accustomed to. What I have learned, that this is what you do. This is how you do it. But now, I see that that's not true. That was just maybe true for a certain time, but now the fast-changing world is changing the entire scenario. So what we have to realize that this model is not working anymore. We have to think up new models to deal with the new challenges that are coming up, especially to people, to educators who are educating the next generation. The future depends on that. It's not that the students or is going to change the world or are at the helm of the world. It's the educators. So how do I teach my students to cope with this kind of changes when I am not equipped enough? So that is the question that drove me to the thing. Let me relate in my experience here that made me realize that I need to change myself. First of all, when the pandemic started, the COVID-19 pandemic started, education became online, okay? And I was not really as versatile with online facilities. And I thought, okay, my life is almost done. It doesn't matter. I will be able to survive. However, then I see that no, I don't have the skills and I cannot survive until I get the skills myself, okay? Now, I need it immediately. And then my university imposed Google Classrooms. Online classrooms, you have to use Google Classroom. Now, what is Google Classroom? I had to learn from scratch. Everything I had to learn from scratch. And then somehow I learn and manage and all. Suddenly, last year, my university, who follows the North American University curriculum, the education curriculum, they said in most American universities, they are using the Canvas system now. You have to shift to go to Canvas system so that we can be at, we can maintain our liaison with the universities that we are affiliated with. Okay, now comes another challenge. I haven't mastered the Google Classroom yet. Now I have to learn Canvas. Okay, I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not a quitter. I will learn it. Okay, I do it, but what I find out is that I'm missing my old classroom. I miss my old chalkboard. I miss because you know what I believe as an educator, that when I'm teaching somebody something, a textbook is not enough. You need visual impact on the students. This visual impact is what is going to remain or stay in their minds longer than what they read from textbooks. So that's what I believe in. And when I can't use my whiteboard and the chalkboard, how do I teach my students? How do I give that visual impact? Okay, the new generation teach me, the new people who believe in the new model says that, okay, use PowerPoint, use multimedia. Okay, I learned that, how to use PowerPoint, how to use the multimedia. But I believe PowerPoint does the same thing, is almost the same thing as a textbook, as using a textbook. I teach a boring subject, difficult subject, where I teach business school, business English, and then I have to teach them researchers who write research reports. I have to teach them how to do citations, how to create a reference list. And that's very boring. And when they have to learn it from PowerPoint slides or from their textbooks, it becomes really boring. I found that I cut a joke here, I cut a joke there, and draw pictures on the chalkboard, and in peculiar handwriting, I write down the names of the author, the publisher's name, and the date of publication and all that. I do a lot of joking in the classroom so that students can relate to it and remember all the antiques that I have in front of the classroom. And when they see it on the blackboard, they remember it much more than the things that I haven't actually had time to show them on the board. So you see, this is a system that I believe in. And now I cannot use that properly. So somebody, a young lecturer at my university, that the other day told me, ma'am, there is an app called the Whiteboard. You can use that. I was excited. I haven't learned it yet. It was just the day before I came to Dubai. So I said, okay, let me come back from Dubai, and then I'm going to learn from you how to use that whiteboard app. So I'm looking forward to that. Now what happened is actually, more than a teacher, I have become a student. It is my students who are teaching me on online, how do I do this? How do I change the slide? How do I record the thing? When I am at a loss, my students tell me, ma'am, do this, do that. And I feel that real interaction between teacher and student is going on. And I've been hearing this term, multi-generational team. So this is what is happening now. This is what I'm all excited about. There is no barrier to age or time or location. You have to get together, you have to be together, work together, learn together, or teach together. Okay? So that is what
Excellent. So maybe we need to stop now being the teacher for them. They're going to teach us. Work together.
Yeah.
And this
Yes.
is how we can keep up with their, agility.
Exactly.
These are the Z generation. From the day they born, they play with the iPods, or they're more advanced and agile than us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so now maybe this is the new norm that we have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing this, you get them to interact, and you emphasize also the information by having them the one who's the center of the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dina, for your
Thank-
insightful contribution. Mr. Bert, you want to
Just to add quickly, and then I leave the floor to others, but two things. First of all, it's really interesting to see how good of a teacher you are, and I still think that we will need teachers in the future, so that are doing good teaching, but maybe with different methods, different technological skills, but you still keep a good teacher of being a good teacher. So that's one. The second one is really important, is to show as a teacher that you're willing to learn, and you're a good example of that as well. But when I talk to lots of teachers in Belgium, for instance, and I ask the question, who has an image of themselves within 1 or 2 years, what will you be doing then differently than today? And then I don't see anything happening in the room. So lots of them don't have an image of their own professional being in the future within 1 or 2 years, because being a teacher is something like, I am a teacher, so I will teach, and it stays a bit as a fixed mindset. So when you have a growth mindset about yourself as a professional, as a teacher, and you say, okay, then I want to be able to use this tool, I want to be teaching another age group, I want to have different topics, then you have an ambition, something you put in front, and then you have a learning tension also as a teacher professional to go ahead. When you don't have this, you keep on doing the same thing every year over and over and over again. And I think schools and leaders, school leaders and so on, should ask professionals, teachers, what do you want to learn? It should be something that we need every year as a question on the table within the team. And I hope we can change this the next few years. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Bert. Yes, we'll open a new horizon of the way we teach and, and interact with the students. And now we move with Mr. Fabio. Now we're doing all the staging and catching up with the industry. So lifelong learning for future of work. Well, we'd like you now to shed light to us about the labor market and the growth of the new labor market. And also, if you can talk to us, Mr. Fabio, about the difference between high-income skills and low-income skills, and where we need to upskill the high-income and low-income skills.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So, first of all, Dr. Dina, you are a great learner before
Thank
you are a great teacher. So a great teacher must live a mission to be a teacher. And the identity is not I teach, I am a teacher. It's completely different. Because people do this for the money, for the job. They're not teachers. And they shouldn't be teaching. This is my opinion. I'm very drastic on this. On the other side, I believe that high-income skills are very important. And this I learned from my mentor from Canada. His name is Dan Locke. And I acquired high-income skill in my career, and I've seen a quantum leap in my entrepreneurial career. So speaking about people at 40, 50, 60, 70 years old that acquire this high-income skill in the digital space is possible. if the teacher teach it in a simple and easy way to be understood by someone like Dr. Dina. I have a professor, she's 74 years old. She wasn't hit by COVID in 2019, so she wasn't forced to learn, but she started earlier. Today is one of the main focal point of how a 74 years old retired teacher can change the perspective on how old should you be when you learn these new skills. So regarding high income skill and low income skill, I believe universities and schools, they don't do a good job letting the students imagine who they will become taking the course. That's why students don't want to stay in the classroom, because they don't see who they will be. So if I was redesigning the institutional sector, which I can't by myself, but
Can?
yeah, well, I'm doing that, but borderline, doing my own stuff. That's why I founded my own institution, because I wanted to accelerate the process. And the first thing we show the students when we teach them how to become digital marketers, social media managers, which is an high income skill, as we were talking about before, we show them what is possible for them, how a professional comeback is possible, showing them, letting them speak with these people. So first of all, universities should stop, don't keep creating professionals that then end up in an economy where the entrepreneur, which I am an entrepreneur, I always ask one question: what can you do for me? I don't know. They didn't speak about this in the classroom. So yeah, well, you're not hired. So we are giving the students a big disservice, letting them believe that a degree is enough to stop learning, which is a big lie. Because in this new market, entrepreneurs like me want people very specialized in one single high income skill, which can be also copywriting. Copywriting is the art of writing copy, which is much more important than doing digital marketing. For example, closing is the art of closing the sale through the online space. Right now, the customer, they don't want to speak with anybody. So all these vertical high income skills can be accumulated and generate a new identity in yourself, so you can get what you want from your professional career. I've seen people from 50, 60 years old being fired because the economy is not needing them anymore in that specific role, and acquiring this high income skill very quickly, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and doubling, tripling what they were making before. And now they are really free individuals. So I believe talking about why high income skill, because they can make you free, doesn't mean you are a freelancer, but you have a new identity, professional identity, that can, if you want, you can be free. But you can also work in an office if you love it. But the basic is to start the spark, because the talent doesn't exist. I read a book, it's called The Talent Code. Have you read that? No. The talent code say that the talent doesn't exist. The physical talent exists, but the talent doesn't exist. So the way you immerse kids to see what is possible for them in the future, allow them to start the spark, and if they have the mentor, the coaching, and the deep training needed to develop that neural connection, they become legends. Like footballer in Brazil, they're not better, like genetically or fathers. They just see success repeating itself. There is a story in Korea, Korean golfers, generation of golfers are coming out from Korea, which doesn't make sense. I mean, in Korea, what is the meaning? Is because they see who they can become through examples. So they want to learn because it's the way they can become that person. So courses, this stuff should be really on the side and focusing on who you become, especially if you want to reinvent yourself. This is my experience. I mean, this is just my point of view.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fabio.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what I thought about teachers. When they see themselves also in the future,
Exactly,
I think that's the motor of learning, is to have a vision of yourself and then have the personal mastery and the drive to get there. And so I'm totally agreeing to give everyone who is learning, so not only young kids but everyone, to have an image of themselves mastering certain skills and seeing what the impact can be when they have these skills.
In their life, yeah.
And then see what do I have to do to get there. And then you have a tension, a spark, but also a tension, a creative tension, a learning tension to move ahead. And I think this is a really important aspect. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Once you see the first results, you want to get it more, because
It's
you
an
see it's
addiction.
possible. Yeah.
So there is a statement, master in one, jack of all trades. So I think that is becoming very relevant today because we need to be specialized in one sector which cannot be done by anybody else better than us. But we should be aware about what's happening around. And I think that is the journey which we need to take forward for. Out of whatever the digital skills which are coming in, we should pick up the area where we have the expertise in, build up around more on a holistic transformation level, and develop us and take to that level where we still know about other areas of skill sets as well. We may not work over there, but we should be aware around that. So I think that's what I would want to add. And just one thing for you, Dr. Dina, we have done a research recently that how the educators are struggling with respect to the online education or digital education. And we found that there are 21 plus applications which an educator has to learn in just last 2 years' time. And the problem is, the learning is very difficult because it's all technology systems. We are more focused as an educator, we are more focused. I myself had been trainer for last 21 years and have always, have already trained more than 25,000 plus students. So I understand the chain. While I am a technologist as well, I understand technology. For me, it was pretty quick. But when I see with my 50,000 plus community, which is spread across 70 plus countries, so it's not just one India, I see this challenge as a very common challenge. They literally struggle to adapt to the new way of learning. And that is why we saw educators coming in on this stage and saying that digital education is not the world, is not the thing which world wants or student wants. It's not impactful. But digital education can be impactful. Anyways, I just wanted to share that and, support your thought that educators are finding it challenging.
Yes, thank you, Ansham. Though it is a challenge, what is your world? How interesting is a world without a challenge? So you have to face a challenge every step of your way. So that's why I'm here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother. Okay, how many more years do I have of teaching? So challenges are what makes you realize who you are and what you want to be. Okay, therefore, as Fabio has pointed out that I'm a good learner, I believe so because I realize the need in myself that I want to be part of this new world. I want to learn how this new world works, how it generates new ideas, new challenges. I want to be part of it. I don't want to be left behind. That's why what I learned is that a learner or an educator has to be willing. The motivation that you have inside is what is more important. And as I was talking to my panelists, all the different members of my panelists, I realized, Anshav said in India, there are lots of places, lots of small organizations where they have arranged for teaching older people, the older generation, to how to use the digital technology. You don't have to learn everything about digital technology, but whatever you want to learn, that's the very first feeling that has to come into your heart. You want to do this. Only then you can become successful. I believe I'm going to go back to Bangladesh and I'm going to create a group of people and little maybe organizations where we will together learn how to cope with these challenges and the new digital world.
Very well. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. We're so proud
Great.
of you, Dr. Dina. For last maybe 1 minute, if maybe Ms. Minaj can, since you worked with unserved community, can you just quickly shed lights about how important is lifelong learning for unserved community?
So I don't think there's a difference between the underserved and the ones who are privileged. The requirements are exactly the same. The difference is that, like I said, learning as a skill is very dormant in maybe the group that's all along rote learned or not learned at all. So I think it's fundamental to, I think, existence. It's fundamental to whatever vocation and profession you take up. You could be a farmer, you could be a welder, you could be a plumber, you could be in the formal sector, so you could be, doing an IT job, or you could be in a multinational bank. But at the end of the day, with the changing times and the VUCA world that we live in, where you have so much of ambiguity, uncertainty, complexity, it's important to be able to navigate all of that. And in order to be able to navigate, you have to learn all the time. And I think we've all sort of arrived at this, conclusion that digital skills is one of the tools and enablers of lifelong learning. With the internet opening up, and especially I think with the pandemic has clearly shown us that people who were not able to access digital tools have been left behind in the last 2 years, and that there's this large chunk of students, school-going kids who've not had access and have really lost 2 years of their life. So I think the future is about digital skills, about how you can use those digital skills to enable lifelong learning. And it's also about, with the sort of volume of information that exists on the internet, being able to differentiate right from wrong. So information and media literacy becomes really, really critical because you don't want to learn the wrong things. And there is a lot of, incorrect material that also is available. So I think being able to search, being able to retrieve the right information, and being able to apply it in a pace that you're comfortable with. Micro-size, I think in the morning there was a session on bite-sized learning, so microbytes. We know about the attention span, the generational challenge with attention. So learn at your own pace. The material is available. Make it accessible for you. And pick what's relevant. And like I think all of them have been saying, if you have a goal for yourself, you know the direction you want to head. Therefore, choose the right pieces of information that you need to learn for your goals.
Just a quick reflection, and then I will leave it to that. I totally agree with you. Just one thing I wanted to add, and that's about do people in this situation have enough network and context where they can learn? Because what I see is, when I also work with learning ecosystems, they stay in their own communities and places where they don't have this kind of, other people assisting them in learning, saying this is a possibility and so on. And for instance, when I look at you, Doctor, you are in a rich environment as a learning environment, so you have assistants, people challenging you and so on. But lots of people don't have that. So I think it's really important to bring them in contexts that are rich, and also to assist them in a rich network where you can learn. And I hope maybe technology can assist in opening up these networks. And I hope we don't reproduce the fact that you lack a network also online, because then you see the speed up in the other way around, and that people who have a network can accelerate in having more network, and people who don't have a network stay behind. So I think it's really important to take this in account when we build also digital learning ecosystems.
No, I wanted to confirm what you say. You cannot fight your environment. No. You have to adapt, you have to perfection your environment. There are 9 environments, and the way you adapt and you perfection the environment, create your success. You cannot fight it. So that's real. Thank you.
Thank you all, our panelists. I know we have so many to talk about it. We're not going to finish, but we have taken an extra 6 minutes even from our time. So we come to our closing. So it's been a pleasure being with all of you today, and appreciate all the insightful information and expertise that you have shared with us, and wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khawla. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you so much for
very
everybody,
much.
and thank you my panelists, colleagues to do that. Just a quick note: this is a book cover called "Sone ki Chidiya ko Jagao." India was called as Sone ki Chidiya, a golden bird, and we are looking towards transforming India into a self-sustainable and financially independent economy, leading to zero unemployment. We are focusing on bringing excellence in 3 E's, which is at the backside, which is education, employment, and entrepreneurship. We are developing the world's largest cross-border patented and inclusive virtual skills development center and skills bank, which we are calling it as Bringleverse. It's a metaverse education from Bringle, which we are providing in. The back cover of the book is already there on the last pages in your book, the Education 2.0. So anybody who would like to know more about it, they can just check bringleglobal.com. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share about this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now it's time for Education 2.0's exclusive awards and recognition program. Of course, leading visionaries and organizations who have made their mark in the education industry and who've had an impact, especially during this time of crisis. They have always been at the forefront of positive change, and we are honored to have such voices in our midst today. So to present these distinguished winners with their awards, I'd like to call upon Chintan from Shunya Ikai Technologies to present the awards. Chintan. All right, it's a very exciting moment. Chintan, you ready? Okay. So, to begin, our first category, Best Companies Award in Education, goes to Catalyze Center for Learning. Congratulations, Catalyze. Come and get your prize. Thank you. Wonderful. Congratulations. Next we have Train My Brain and Concepts Coach, Best Companies Award in Education. Mr. Anish. Congratulations. Congratulations, Train My Brain. Okay, now for our individual awards. The first one for Outstanding Leadership in Education goes to Mrs. Anya Caron. Congratulations, Anya. drum roll, Mr. Bert Smits. Congratulations, Mr. Smits. Congratulations. Next awardee is Debjani Mukherjee. No, maybe not yet. All right, our next awardee is Mr. Jis Berger. Okay, also not here. Next for Outstanding Leadership Award goes to Monisha Banerjee. Congratulations, Monisha. Wonderful. Congratulations. Next in line, our awardee, Safa Ilgin. You have your personal cameraman? Congratulations. Outstanding Leadership Award. Our next one goes to Mr. Samir Sika. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mr. Sika. And our next award for Outstanding Leadership in Education goes to probably our youngest keynote speaker of the day, Ms. Soraya Beheshti. Congratulations. Congratulations, Soraya. Our next award goes to Mr. Stan Brackman. Congratulations, Mr. Brackman. Congratulations. And our final award for tonight goes to Wasim Abaza. Wasim? No Wasim. All right, Mr. Chintan, thank you very much for joining me on stage, distributing the awards. Yes? Great. Johnny Mukherjee. One more, Mr. Shintan. Thank you. And congratulations to all honorees. She's a... Okay. So congratulations to all honorees on behalf of Education 2.0 and everyone who is present today. This marks the end of day one of our conference. I hope today's session has something special for everyone and that you are taking away valuable information. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for a knowledge-filled day. I would also like to remind you of the hashtag Education2Conf that you can tag us with on social media. And please feel free to proceed to the next room for some refreshments. My name is Alexandra, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm waiting.